All the live stuff is really good, and the commentating, having the big screen and everything, is really nice. And it feels there's cameras and stuff out in the forest, so that kind of makes it feel a bit more like the World Champs, and makes it feel a bit more professional than some other events. Yeah, so it's been really good.
In the first half of the season, and I must admit I thought she'd gone back to Finland mid-year, but she's back and will definitely be a very serious contender. In the junior boys, three of the top five from last year are still in the juniors. It's Toby Cosolato, who was second last year, Alvin Craig, who was fourth, and Torin Arthur, who was fifth. And I think I'd agree that Alvin would be the favourite today, but Toby is certainly another one we'd be looking at if Alvin perhaps doesn't have quite such a good day. In the seniors, looking at who's still around there. In the senior girls, the three of the top five are still here. Jessica Sewell was second last year for New Zealand, Joanna George fourth, and Ella Cuthbert fifth. Ella, as you've already heard, had that breakthrough result on Saturday with her win in the Oceania Sprint Championships, and not only did she win the junior class, but her time would also have won the senior elite race. So that was a really exceptional result there from Ella. But there's a lot of people in this field with JWOC experience. We've got Ella, we've got Zoe Melhuish, we've got Caitlin Young, all three from the ACT. We've got Joanna George, also in the field, and Michaela Cooper. So lots of talent there. I'd also probably be watching for Neve Kasser from New South Wales, who was second in the juniors last year and coming up to the seniors this year. In the senior boys, most of the top people from last year have moved up. Of course, Aston Key was our winner last year by a minute, and as pretty well all of you probably know, has gone on to bigger and better things this year. Duncan Curry, who was second last year, and Jed Fleming, who was third, are also no longer in the schools. But Dante Afnan, who was fourth last year, is the highest placed runner from the 2018 sprint, who's still in the schools this year.
Yeah, we just have a change to the structure of the competition this year. We have 2 New Zealand teams, as well as the 7 Australian state teams. So there are actually 9 teams competing against each other. There are 2 competitions within the whole event today. There's the Australian Schools Challenge between the states, but there's also the Southern Cross Challenge between the New Zealand teams and the Australian teams, or the state teams. The 2 New Zealand teams, I've been assured, have been chosen to be as equal as possible. So there's not one better team and one less better team, so to speak. They are meant to be equal. The 2 names that they've given these teams, the first one is Harua, and that is, the meaning of that in Maori is depression. And the team that's carrying number 9 on the bibs, Harua will be wearing number 8. So each state is numbered 1 to 7, and then the New Zealand teams are 8 and 9, and that will help us identify them on the video screen. Number 9, the team 9 is Karahiwi, and that means spur. So one of the teams is depression, that's team 8, and team 9 is a spur. So we have a little bit of a dilution in the strength of the New Zealand team. In the past it's been 1, now it's 2. So that, I guess, in some way, Blair, gives the states a bit more of a chance against them.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Certainly New Zealand have dominated the Southern Cross Challenge for some, really ever since its inception in its current form. It'll be interesting to see what happens with their depth being a bit more tested. So we're just about to have our first 2 runners out. In the senior boys, Oscar Wolford from New South Wales, one of the members of the developing Bush and Beach Club at Coffs Harbour. And in the junior boys, Riley McFarlane from Western Australia, who I think might be one to watch to post a decent time early on. He's pretty quick runner, and also has excellent taste in football as a fellow supporter of Essendon. And last year I went across to a game in Perth and went to the game with Riley and his family, and I can tell you that an Eagles crowd in Perth is very quiet when they're trailing by 50 to 1.
Well, we won't hold that against him, Blair, but another victory this year, of course, to Richmond, beating Greater Western Sydney, which was a bit of a shame for us New South Wales people. Yeah. So we have, I believe, we are going live to livingatlive.com, and so if anyone in the arena wants to keep a track of radio split times, they can do so. And I do believe that Toph's told me that in the past, on schools days, there's a fair few people watching and listening on the internet. So welcome to Kildare College here in Wagga. Beautiful day, a small breeze, a slight breeze, but a really, really nice day and a great outlook for a sprint event.
Yeah, and we've just had our first 2 women's starters go out. In the seniors, Ellen Johnson from the ACT, and in the juniors, Julia Barber from New South Wales. And I think Ellen, when she drew out first start, is looking forward to possibly spending a bit of time in the lead. At World Championships and some other major events, they actually have a couch at the finish that the current leader sits on until such time as they get displaced. And here the couch is purely metaphorical, but perhaps we could introduce that for some future years.
Well, actually, speaking of that, Blair, I do believe that there's a possibility of that on Saturday at the Oceania Long Distance Championships. It's been discussed with the course setter, and it may actually eventuate then. Yeah. I can see we've got a video camera on the spectator control over to my left. I'm reliably informed that that is about 2/3 or maybe just less of the way through the course. We will see both the juniors and the seniors come past, where we're commentating looking down over the basketball courts of the school. Yeah.
Having seen the course statistics and knowing what the terrain's like for the Oceania Long, I think anybody who finishes the elite long distance race there is probably going to be in need of some time on the couch.
Oh, well, maybe it'll be very comfortable for them. and Thomas, I just thinking Thomas Frazier would have spent a fair bit of time in the couch the other day at the Australian Long.
I've just seen, I think it's Riley McFarlane come round the building there on the western side of the arena. So we're obviously going to get a bit of a sight of at least some of the athletes early on in the course. I don't know if everyone will come that way or whether it's a route choice and there are some we won't see. But in fact, we're just seen another that looks like...
Oscar Wolford.
Yeah, it's
from
New South Wales boy, so probably Oscar.
So Oscar Wolford, the first starter in the men's senior elite. Second starter there was Ryan Gray wearing the Queensland top. So he will be the next one that we could look forward to seeing on the left-hand side if there's no route choice on that leg. There may be, so we may not see them at all. But we'll definitely see them over halfway, between halfway and two-thirds of the way through their course.
Just before you go, I'm pretty sure that nothing is going out live until 10:30 because the students still have access to the phones. They're not in quarantine till 10:30.
I can't speak for that, so you'll need
no tracking till 10:30.
Yeah. But Split shouldn't be going out either.
60-ish, has moustache.
They go up there.
Hey, well, the finish. Yeah, the Finnish team, of course, at this event being brought to us by the Canberra Grammar School Code Cadets, and I was thinking, seeing the high-tech setup there that, as many of you all know, I was at Canberra Grammar back in the day, and I was taken back to the days of doing the scoring for the Athletics and Swimming Carnival on paper. So things have definitely moved on a fair bit since then. The athletics was a little bit more complicated. The swimming was easy because none of the scorers were any good at swimming, but some of the scoring team for the athletics could actually run, so we were having to go out and do our events and then come back and do the scoring. It all seemed to work out okay.
My understanding is there's commentary going live. I'm not sure about the splits. The GPS tracking won't go live till 10:30 because there's no quarantine. But I believe that we are live on camera at the moment. At least I can see myself on the big screen while I'm talking, which is a bit scary. But there will not be any GPS tracking until 10:30, obviously, because there's no quarantine.
Nothing that scary about seeing yourself on the big screen, Nick, is there?
No. No, as long as other people watching it don't think it's scary.
Yeah. Not quite as disconcerting as when you're in the car and listening to yourself being interviewed on the radio, which I've experienced a couple of times.
So I've just seen Oscar Wolford run across on my left-hand side for the second time, so that gives you an idea of how small this terrain is, this school campus is. They're going to cover the same sort of terrain a few times, I would say, on the course. So it shouldn't be too long before we start to see some people come past the big sign, Kildare Catholic College. It looks like the school hall that we are, or the gymnasium right in front of me. They will come past here. Some of them will go from left to right, and the others will go from right to left.
Okay, so we can see quite a few people going on the western side of the arena in both directions around that building, so there's clearly multiple options in that area. Nobody at the spectator control yet. We're not quite sure how far the spectator control is into the course. Winning times for a sprint are supposed to be 12 to 15 minutes. My sense from the course distances is I think winning times will probably be at the shorter end of that range. Do you think that might be the case, Nick?
Yeah, I think the complication for that might be the number of controls they've got. They've got a significantly large number of controls, so therefore there's a lot of hesitation. And because it's an intense campus, there's going to be a lot of sort of doubt about route choices possibly, and that may slow the running down. But we'll just wait and see. They've got a big week, the school students. It's 8 events in 9 days, so I'm sure if it's on the shorter end of the winning time of about 12 minutes, they won't particularly mind given what they've got for the rest of the week.
Of course, sprint is well established now as an orienteering format, and we've got next year. We've split for World Championships. Have now been split into forest and urban formats. So next year will be the first purely urban World Championships with a individual sprint, a sprint relay, and also the knockout sprint. And some of you will have seen that run at World Cup level. In fact, there was one on the weekend where Aston Key got through the first round, which was pretty good going.
And we have our first through the spectator control. It's a Western Australian
That's
junior.
Riley McFarlane.
Riley McFarlane going to the control on the left-hand side of where we're standing, and very smooth through that control.
So about 8 minutes 15 there for Riley. Obviously, we'll have a better idea once a few more runners have been through as to how that result stacks up. But it's obviously the time we have on the board in the clubhouse for the moment, so to speak, and. So just getting back to the knockout sprint format, the way that works is they have an individual qualifying race. The first 36 go through to the next round, and then it's all mass start races. So they have a second round with 6 rounds of 6. First 3 go through, then 3 semi-finals, and the first 2 from each go through to a final with 6 people. So and there's splitting and forking in at least some of the courses. So, certainly a spectator attractive format, and I think we'll develop some new skills in the sport.
And I do also believe, Blair, that at JWOC next year there will be a sprint relay in the JWOC program. Tell me if I'm wrong. You should know more about that than I do.
It's coming in, but I don't think it's next year. I think it's either 21 or 22. I can't remember off the top of my head.
And talking about that knockout sprint, it was good to see someone out of Scandinavia and Switzerland actually win that. It was Wojciech Kral.
Yeah.
So that just adds a little bit to the process of these knockout sprints. Maybe it's not, and I can see some runners coming now over onto the basketball courts, and we've got also our first senior, and it's Oscar Wolford, the first starter in the men's senior class, running across from left to right. So it's the seniors going left to right and the juniors going from right to left.
Okay, so Oscar on a bit just over 10 minutes, and Henry Dutoit from Victoria in junior boys, our second starter, through in about 8:15, so almost exactly the same time as Riley McFarlane. We don't yet have our official results feed from the spectator control yet, so I'm doing it the old school way with a start list and a stopwatch.
And Julia Barber going across in the junior class. She was the first starter in the junior girls.
Yeah, about 9.5 minutes there for Julia, so that's the first time on the board there.
So Ryan Gray started 2 minutes down on Oscar Wolford, so it's not a 1 minute start time today, it's a 2 minute start gap. So we're looking now, of course, for Ryan Gray to come across from left to right in the senior men's class, because Ryan had a very good run on the weekend. Here he is.
Yep, so Ryan coming through. He's about 9 minutes 10 at the moment, so about a minute ahead of Oscar Wolford, the only 2 runners we've seen at the moment. But we also have Remy Afnan coming through in the juniors, and I think this will be the fastest time we've seen so far in the juniors. Remy currently on about 7.5 minutes, so that puts him about 45 seconds ahead of our other 2 runners in the field at the moment. Our first finisher coming in now, Riley McFarlane coming in. We're saying we thought the times might be at the short end, and that's certainly the case in the junior boys, because Riley is through unofficially in about 11 minutes 48. So that's obviously our leading time because he's our first finisher. Also just had Ellen Johnson through the spectator control in just under 11 minutes, our first senior girl through. So our last part of the course is quite short, it looks like, so for the juniors at least, for spectator control at about 2/3 distance. Just had Natalie Miller come through in the junior girls, about 9 minutes there for Natalie. So she's caught a little bit of time on Julia Barber. I think she's probably about 20 to 30 seconds ahead of Julia at this stage. Okay, next senior coming through, and that's in the senior boys, and will be Josh Allen. And Josh is on a pretty reasonable run here. I think he's might have close to the fastest time here. He's through in about 9:15. Okay, that's probably just around about the same time as Ryan Gray. So Josh on a pretty good run here. Also coming through from New South Wales, Michaela Enderby from New South Wales in the juniors. And I think that's the fastest time we've seen so far in the juniors, about 8 minutes 30 there for Michaela. Also got Shinta Hopper in the senior girls at about 10 minutes 45, so that puts her probably 30 seconds or so ahead of Ellen Johnson, who was our other runner through there so far. I think I can see Henry Dutoit, so we're about to have our second junior boys finisher. 11:46 is the time to beat. He's not going to get in front of that because he's a bit over 12 minutes, but still a pretty good run here for Henry in his first Australian Schools Championships. He's going to do about 12 and a half minutes here, so an excellent debut run here for Henry from Victoria. About 12:31 unofficially, and that moves him into second position, about 45 seconds behind Riley McFarlane.
And I think we have a South Australian.
Yep, this will be a new leader in the junior boys. Remy Afnan coming through. He's just coming up to 11 minutes now, so he'll be clearly faster than Riley McFarlane. So Remy Afnan comes through in 11:03. So that will be our new leader in the junior boys. So we've 3 finishes in the junior boys, no finishes yet in any of the other classes, although that may change fairly soon, because I think that is Julia Barber in the finish now. Julia was our first starter in the junior girls, and she's going to be our first finisher. About 14, coming out to 14:40 there for Julia, so posting a time on the board there. Just saw Victorian boy coming through. That will be Brodie McCarthy at about 9:50. So that puts him about 40 seconds down at that stage. But also Dante Afnan, who has almost caught Brodie, and Dante is on a very good time here, just over 8 minutes. So a good minute or so ahead of our current leader or previous leader there, Ryan Gray. Just saw Natalie Miller finish, so and her time around about 13 minutes 20. So that will be the new leader there for Natalie in the junior girls. About a minute ahead of Julia Barber. Owen Radziewski in the junior boys through the spectator, about 8:45 there for Owen, so certainly in the mix there, within a minute or so of a lead, I think. And our first senior finisher now, Oscar Wolford, coming into the finish at about 17 minutes 10 there, so we've clearly the seniors have a bit more after the spectator control than the juniors do. We also saw Joshua Nunes, our first Queenslander, through the spectator control at about 11:20, but now Ryan Gray coming into the finish, and Ryan will be our new leader in the senior boys at about 15 minutes 27 unofficially, 15:25 more officially. So he takes the lead there in senior boys, although we have seen that Dante Afnan is probably a minute or so ahead at the spectator control. So that's going to be interesting to see what Dante does. Dante currently on about 10 minutes. senior girls, we have Rani Brennan coming to the spectator control, about 11 minutes fair, which is in the ballpark of quite a few of the others. But our latest junior girl coming in, Michaela Enderby, and this will be our new second place. So very close fair. Michaela 2 seconds down on our current leader, Natalie Miller. So very tight fair. But we now have David Stocks through the spectator control, and he'll move into second place fair. He's on about 8.25, so it's about 25 seconds down on where Dante Afnan was at that stage, but certainly clear of where Ryan Gray was. Ryan, our current leader in the finish, but we know that Dante and David are both on faster times. A couple more senior girls coming through. I think it's Neve Kassar and Caitlin Steer. Neve will be the faster of those two on about 10 minutes, which I think is pretty close to the fastest time we've seen so far through there today in the senior girls. Don't seem to be getting a feed at the moment from the spectator control. Okay, a couple more in the finish now. This is Joshua Allen in the senior boys. Also Ellen Johnson in the senior girls. Ellen Johnson about 18:40 and Joshua Allen about 15:45, I think. Josh he moves into second place behind Ryan Gray, and Ellen Johnson has the first time on the board there in the senior girls. So 18:43 gives him something to chase. Now a very fast finish here from Owen Radzewski. I think that might be one of the better finish shoot splits of the day. And he moves into third place there at 12:20. So 1:17 behind our current leader there, Remy Afnan, and Riley McFarlane remains in second place in that class. So Dante, I can see Dante Afnan. So Dante is currently on a time of around 13 minutes. Our current lead in the senior boys is Ryan Gray at 15:25, and but Dante is going to come in probably close to 2 minutes under that, perhaps even more than 2 minutes under that, as he comes into the finish. A terrific run here by Dante, and this might well take some beating here. This is a very, very good run here for Dante Afnan, and he's going to coming out to about 13:20, I think, or thereabouts. So excellent run there by Dante Afnan in the senior boys. Meanwhile, Sam Wolford from New South Wales in the junior boys has come into second place at 11:25. Now, Brodie McCarthy was caught 2 minutes by Dante Afnan, but is going to come into a pretty decent place regardless. And he moves into fourth place at 15:45. Very tight there for second, third, fourth with Ryan Gray and Joshua Allen. Now we've got in the senior girls, got Shinta Hopper coming in at about 18:59. So that puts her in second place, 16 seconds behind Ellen Johnson, who are our two finishers in that class so far. I haven't seen anyone go through the spectator control in significantly under that time yet. Neve Kassar, perhaps the one we're most likely to see come in the near future. Looking at where the leaders might come through. I mentioned before we've got quite a lot of people in the field with JWOC experience, and Caitlin Young who started 3 minutes ago, is the first of them. So that's where we might start to see some faster times come through. You can see on the screen there that there's a lot of pretty narrow pathways and garden beds on this course. So we've got another of the seniors coming through now from South Australia. And this would be Ethan Pink, who I think is a fairly decent chance of getting a result in the top half dozen or so. But he's on about 9:20, which puts him in the same sort of range as our current second, third and fourth place getters. Ryan Gray, Joshua Allen and Brodie McCarthy. Dante Afnan clearly under that time, and I think it's even early in this event, I think it's pretty clear that Dante's time is going to take quite a lot of beating today. But Ethan's definitely in the mix for a place in the top few there. And now David Stock's in the finish, and David is in third place at the radio, but he's in fact second. Not quite sure what was showing third on my screen there, but he moves into second place at 14:10, and just behind that Nico Stoner, who moves into fourth place in the junior boys at 12:16. So David Stocks moves into second place, 48 seconds behind Dante Afnan. And a clear second position there for David Stocks. Ryan Gray drops into third place. Junior boys, our current leader there, leader there still Remy Afnan, with Sam Wolford in second place and Riley McFarlane in third. I was going to say a couple more people coming in there, but it's just one person chased by a cameraman. It's Ella Rogers in the junior girls, and she has done a time of about 14 minutes and 5 seconds, which moves her into third place in that class. Currently we have Natalie Miller and Michaela Enderby in there, and our first New Zealand finisher, Luke Farron. In fact, we have a new leader in the senior boys. I completely missed him going through the spectator. Grant Reinbott has got under Dante Afnan's time. So, terrific run there by Grant. And that was, one we didn't really see something. Sophia Toes from New Zealand Harua goes into the lead in junior girls at 12:43. Rani Brennan in senior girls comes in third, and Neve Kassar takes the lead in the junior girls. So lead didn't last. Sophia Toes didn't last for very long. Neve Kassar is the senior girls, so Sophia is still in the lead. So 16:51 there for Neve Kassar, and that puts her a couple of minutes in front in the senior girls. Fairly early days there in that class, as it is in all of the classes. But there I was thinking that Dante's time we might have already seen the winning time, and it didn't even last 10 minutes. So a very impressive run there by Grant Reinbott from Queensland. Luke Farron from New Zealand Turua moved into third place in the junior boys while we were watching there. Latest through the spectator, we've got William Davey from Victoria coming through spectator in just under 9 minutes. That's a pretty decent run there for William. Certainly puts him in the upper half of the field there. So, and now in the junior girls, we have Sophie Best coming in about bit over 18 minutes there for Sophie, and some very enthusiastic supporters there from the Tasmanians. We have a lot of, the schools has a lot of enthusiastic support, particularly on Relays Day, but also on the individual days as well. Just got Caitlin Young through the spectator, and Caitlin's gone under 9 minutes there, so that's substantially faster than anyone else we've seen so far today. Still fairly early days in that field, but it's a good minute in front of anyone else we've seen so far in the senior girls at that stage. Neve Kassar is our current leader in the finish at 16:51. But Caitlin, I think, is at least half a minute in front of where Neve was at that stage. So, yeah, definitely one to watch. But as I've been saying several times today, this senior girls field has a lot of talent in it with multiple runners with JWOC experience, and it will be quite a while before we see what the runners are capable of here. Caitlin Steer finishing here for Victoria in the senior girls, looking at a time of around 23 minutes, I think, which will move her into 5th position at the moment. And now we have Ethan Pink coming into the finish, and he's probably going to move into 4th place here. He's got about 30 seconds to get in front of Ryan Gray's time, and he clearly has a lot less than 30 seconds worth of ground to cover. So this will be 4th place here for Ethan Pink, 1:46 behind our current leader, Grant Reinbott. Also finishing here in the senior girls, I think that is Laura De Jong, who moves into 2nd place there behind Neve Cassar at 18:13. Also finishing, Rachel Dustin is our new leader in the junior girls at 12:19, just ahead of her just ahead of her compatriot Sophia Toes. Although Rachel is in the other New Zealand team, Harua. Also coming in now, Ingrid Shelton-Agar, and that looks a fairly reasonable time there for Ingrid, just over under 15 minutes. So a couple of minutes behind the lead, but certainly in the mix there. And also finishing the junior boys, I think that is Riley Kerr, who moves into 8th place at 13:58. I have got a pretty decent, good radio time in the junior girls for Sophie Taverner. But I don't think we have a complete set of radio times for spectator control. So, but she's through in about 8.5 minutes, which looks pretty respectable. Sophie is coming in now, and this could well be the new leader here. Rachel Dustin currently leading our junior girls at 12:19, but Sophie is going to go just over 12 here. She'll take the lead in the junior girls. Sophie, a top 10 long distance result last year, 12:08. She takes the lead here, so an excellent run here for Sophie, and we'll remains to be seen what she can have, where that time will hold up. There's some pretty good people in that field still to come, of course. But also just behind that, we had, I think that was Paul Garbellini from Queensland in about 13:30, which puts him about 2 minutes behind at this stage. Finishing now in the senior girls, Amy Collum from New Zealand Karahiwi. About just under 17 minutes there for Amy, which is a pretty respectable time. And in fact, she's equalled Neve Cassar's time. So we have a tie at the front here of senior girls at the moment at 16:51. We do know that Caitlin Young, who started 4 minutes further back, was on a faster time for the radio control. So that's one we'll be watching for. But for now, we have equal leaders. Amy Cullum and Neve Cassar in the senior girls. So Toby Casalato just through the spectator control, and he's on a time of about 7:20. That looks a pretty good time to me. 11:03 is our current leading time. And just a couple more finishes here. William Davey, I can see in the chute. There's a and William 15:44, so that puts him in 7th place, 2:27 behind. But now Caitlin Young in the finish, and this will be a clear lead here for Caitlin. She's broken 15 minutes, I think about 14:57 unofficially, just waiting for an official time to come up here. But that will be our new lead time here in senior girls. I didn't see her, but Ella Cuthbert's gone through for radio in about 8:05, so that's another 30 seconds or so in front of Caitlin, so that could be another time to watch in the not too distant future. Just having confirmation that Toby Casalato's time at the radio is in the lead, 21 seconds in front of Remy Afton, his teammate at this stage. Bodie Terrell finishing now in the junior boys. A pretty good time here for Bodie. He's going to go just under 13 minutes, so within 2 minutes of the lead there. 12:59, moving him into 8th position. A couple more runners here. John Steer from Victoria is one of them. Also in the one of the New Zealanders coming in. I think that might be Kyla Raywood. Just waiting for confirmation of that. John Steer at 15:32 in the junior boys moves into 11th place. Cara Brady, in fact, was the one. In fact, has just gone through radio in a pretty respectable time as well, about 15 seconds down on where Caitlin Young was at that stage. Another ACT finisher here. Has to be Brendan Wilson. About 20 minutes there for Brendan in the senior boys. So we're waiting on Toby Casalato now in this junior boys. He doesn't have long to get in, but I can see him. So 11:01 is what he's chasing. And I think this is going to be the new leader here in the junior boys. Toby Casalato in the finish chute. Just over 10:30 there for Toby. And he will take the lead here. So Toby Casalato unofficially 10:41, or officially 10:41 now, moving ahead of Remy Afton and Sam Wolford. So that's a time, definitely a time to chase. There's still certainly people out there who are well and truly capable of chasing it. Alvin Craig is the one we've been talking up as the favourite in that class, but 10:41 certainly gives him something to go after. It's got a very fast time through the junior girls radio, Nia Shingler, who is 31 seconds ahead at that stage of our current leader in the finish, Sophie Taverner, so very promising time there for Nia. Alice Egan moves into 4th place in that junior girls, so New Zealand Karahivi, 40 seconds behind our current leader. But now we've got Ella Cuthbert in the finish, and Ella is not going to take the lead, I don't think. Caitlin Young, time has held up, so Caitlin has gained time on Ella over the last part of the course. Ella moves into 2nd at 15:06. Nia Shingler is in the finish and is the new leader. We said she was well in front at the spectator control, and she's extended that lead further. So 11.17. Sophie Taverner drops back into second. Mitchell Cooper from New Zealand finishing in 18.28 in the senior boys. So new leader Nia Shingler there in the junior girls, but Caitlin Young holds on for now in the senior girls, and I think is quite pleased about that. Still plenty to come in that age class, though. Andrew Lung from New South Wales through the spectator in about 12 minutes. And also through the spectator control, New South Wales, that will be Cameron Will in about 13 minutes 30. So our current leaders, Toby Casalato in the junior boys from South Australia, Nia Shingler from New South Wales in the junior girls, Caitlin Young in the senior girls, and Grant Reinbott in the senior boys. That senior boys time hasn't been challenged for a while, but we've still got plenty of people to come through who might be able to get themselves in the mix. Sienna White finishing in the junior girls for South Australia from probably the most appropriately named school in this competition, Navigator College. One of the things I was doing at one point was going through the list of schools that people represented in this event and seeing how many of them I'd run sprint events on, and there are about half a dozen of those. Patrick Dufty and Lucy Burley finishing there. Patrick in for Western Australian senior boys, 18.25. Lucy Burley in the junior girls for South Australia, 17.29. So South Australia have a couple of junior girls in now. New Zealand runner coming through in the senior boys of a spectator. I think that is Cameron Bonar, I think, which would put him in the top few there, because he's been out just over 8 minutes now. But coming into the finish now in the senior girls, I think is Cara Braddin finishing now, and she moves into third position at 16.08. So it's about a minute behind our two leaders, Caitlin Young and Ella Cuthbert, but Cara Braddin getting a good solid result there on the board for the New Zealand Cara Heavy team. Couple more runners coming in now, both in the juniors. Junior boys, Oscar Mellor's on a pretty good time here. Mid-11s, I think, 11.38. So that moves him into 5th place at the moment. Also the Western Australian girl come in, Zoe Dale. And that's a very good run there for Zoe, actually. She moves into 4th position. So it's with a time of just under 13 minutes. So a very good second half of the course there for Zoe. And okay, latest finisher here. This is Tom Portner, about 18 minutes fair in the senior boys. Coming in behind that, I think it's Tom Harding, I think is our other senior boys finisher. 14.47, which moves him into 4th position, 1:30 behind. So a little bit quiet here for a moment, but I'm sure that won't last very long. Looking at the senior girls and what's to come. In fact, Jonah George is probably not too far away, and I caught a glimpse of her, and she's come up on the radio, so she's in the finish very soon, but she will not take the lead. She'll move into third place for the moment, behind the two ACT runners. But she'll displace Cara Bradding to move into third position. Jonah George was fourth last year, and at least for now goes one better, but there's still plenty to come in this field. But a good solid run there for Jonah, and moves into third position. Caitlin Young still our leader there. Sylvie Fraser coming through the spectator control in about 9.5 minutes. Looking at who's still to come in the senior girls, Zoe Melhu is starting 10:13, so she's just gone out a couple of minutes ago. Michaela Cooper at 10:19, and Jessica Sewell at 10:37, one of the last starters in the class. So that one's going to be well and truly in the mix until very late in the day. Jemima Bradfield-Smith finishing there from Victoria in about 24 minutes. Yes, I'm going to do most of it the old school way. Yeah, I think
probably the only person in the entire carnival who's cut doing it, so it's him.
A few solid results there so far.
Sophie's isn't she? She's developing, and she enjoys it. Yeah. I just spoke to little Henry.
That's good for first up.
Oh,
that's great. Cameron Will finishing about 20 minutes fair for New South Wales in the senior boys. Also a fast finishing Queenslander there, and that will be Julia Gannon, who that's a good run there for Julia. She's at 15:44, so moves into fourth place there. Excellent run there for Julia. Fourth just behind Free Jaywalk runners, so great run there. Cameron Bonar finishing in the senior boys too, and that's moves him into fifth place, 14:59, so 1:42 behind our current leader, Grant Reinbott. Poor taste if I said, but Nia got some good sprint practice running away from the Paris Riot Police. She and Mark got tear gassed when they got caught in a demo when they were over there this summer. Apparently is an experience to be avoided if possible. Tara Powell from Tasmania finishing about 16.5 minutes, and just behind that from Western Australia, I think that is Joseph Coleman, about 19 minutes 30 there. And Andrew Lung from New South Wales finishing there in the senior girls in a time of about 21 minutes. Abigail George just through the spectator control. Abigail was second last year in the long distance. About 11 minutes there through the spectator control for Abigail, so I think she may have lost a bit of time early on. But as I said, the long distance was where she really shone last year, and will definitely go in there as a serious contender. Okay, just finishing now, we have another of the Reinbach clan, Jack, and he is going to do about 18 minutes, which I think puts him on the outer edges of the top 10. Yeah. And the just noticing the text feed has suddenly switched to Swedish, but at least I can understand what's going on. So I can tell you that Jack has Stempler vid Radio 1 at 9:14. So Amber Lowe finishing there with one of the New Zealand girls. The New Zealand girl, I think it would be Daisy York, seeing who Amber's the faster of those two and ends up in about 14:41, so it moves her into 10th place. Amber, a very fast runner, and that's a decent run for her first up. Nia Shingler still leading in the junior girls at about 11 minutes 17, with Sophie Taverner in second position. Junior boys now finishing for Cooper Morley for New South Wales. That's a good time there for Cooper, about 12:14 there, moves him into 7th position. So certainly a good solid run there for him. Sean Richards from Western Australia also in the finish in the senior boys, and Sean is looking at a time of just over 20 minutes. Sarah Richards just through the spectator control, about 12 minutes Western Australian, the senior girls, but followed by Zoe Melhuish, and Zoe on about 8:10 through there. That puts her in the same sort of range as Ella Cuthbert and Caitlin Young. Caitlin and Ella are our two current leaders, so Zoe looks like she's well in contention for the top placings. Still be 6 to 7 minutes before we see exactly what she ends up doing, but a good first part of the course there for Zoe. Sylvie Frater finishing now, about 17 minutes there for Sylvie. It's a couple of minutes off the lead. Two more finishes in the juniors. I think that is Marley Brennan at about 15 minutes. And Josh Robards from the ACT in about 20 minutes in the junior boys. Marley will go into 13th place there, and Josh into 20th. Sylvie Frater moved into 8th place. But junior boys coming in, and this will be Flynn Hunter, about 12:40 there for Flynn, so that moves him into about 2 minutes behind. We also have Jensen Key finishing in the senior boys, and that's a good time there for Jensen, about 14:48, so moves into 5th place. Jensen picked up quite a significant injury at the Victorian Championships a week and a bit ago, and didn't run in the races on the weekend, so it's terrific that he's been able to come up for this. Sylvan Sweeney also finishing at about 17 minutes there. ACT runner finishing there, Zoe Terrell, about 14 minutes 15 there. So that's a pretty respectable time there for Zoe. 9th place for her at the moment. About 2:59 down on our current leader, Nia Shingler. In fact, 10th place showing up as... or 10th on the board. That may indicate a mispunch somewhere, not quite from someone else. I'm just not quite sure of that. Oscar Johnston just going through there in junior boys in a pretty decent time there, actually, a bit under 8 minutes. So it's Yeah, he's going potentially going to be in the top few there. James Love finishing for Victoria in the junior boys and moves into the top 10 there with a time of 12:15. So very good run there for James, who I think is a first timer. Also have now in the finish Bailey Fisher from Tasmania in the senior boys with about time about 20 minutes there for Bailey. So Zoe Melhuish, the next one we're looking out for in the senior girls. She's coming out to about 12 minutes now, so probably about another 3 minutes before we see her. Just looking at who might be around in some of the other classes. Alvin Craig has just started. He's been out in the terrain for about 3 minutes. So that's one we'll be very much watching in the junior boys. Eda Leighton doesn't start till 10:47, so that's and Emily Hayes till 10:55. So quite, it's going to be quite a long time before things sort themselves out in the junior girls class. Senior boys, might have expected to see Tristan Miller by now. He's on about 15.5 minutes. Max Grivell from South Australia through spectator control, a bit under 10 minutes there for Max at that stage. Just a reminder that any remaining runners to start have to be in quarantine by 10:30, which is about 4 minutes from now. So we've got a couple more finishes. We have Abigail George finishing about 19 minutes and Tristan Miller finishing now about 16 minutes 30 for Tristan, which puts him about 3 minutes down. Also had Erica Enderby just finish while we're keeping track of that, and Erica on about 13.5 minutes, which puts her in 9th place. Tristan moves into 12th, Sarah Gabellini to 11th in the junior girls. Now we have junior boys coming in. This is Oscar Johnston, a very good run here for Oscar, and he will move into 2nd place, I think, or 3rd. 2nd, so he gets in just... Zoe Melhuish in the finish now, and Zoe Melhuish is going to take the lead here in the senior girls, just over 14 minutes, so a great second half of the course there from Zoe. And it's an ACT 1-2-3 in the senior girls at the moment, with Caitlin Young in 2nd and Ella Cuthbert in 3rd. And it's a South Australia 1-2-3 in the junior boys at the moment, with Toby Casalato, Oscar Johnston and Remy Afnan. So some great runs there for ACT and South Australia. Now finishing, we have Ryan Moore in the senior boys for New Zealand Hurua, about 15.5 minutes there for him, which puts him about 2 minutes down there, I think, in equal 9th at 15:40, 2:23 down. Off she's finished, okay. Yeah. Okay, so Melaki has moved into 3rd place in the junior girls at 12:11. Came in while we were tracking that bunch. So Victoria 2nd and 3rd there. She's just behind Sophie Taverner. Nia Shingler still our clear leader in that class. Both sides of the shoes at any one time. Yeah, we're actually not going to from the splits. So, Yeah, so perhaps if you keep an eye on the spectator control and pull out if you recognise someone, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, and a Dustin finishing there for New Zealand Hurua in the senior girls. About moves into 10th place at 18:11, and also got a New Zealand junior girl coming in. This will be Ruby Nathan. About 12:20 here for Ruby, which I think moves her into 4th place. 5th, in fact, just behind her teammate Rachel Dustin. Couple of fast finishes there. Oliver Schubert from Queensland, about 15:40 there, moves into 9th place in the senior boys, and Felix Hunt into 7th place in the junior boys for New Zealand Karahivi. Also saw Sarah Richards finish about 20 minutes there for the senior girls. So Michaela Cooper now on about 11 minutes. I didn't see her go through the spectator, but I may very well have missed her in amongst the very close bunch that we had finishing at that stage. She has a time to beat of 14:09 there from Zoe Melhuish. Michaela, of course, also in Junior World Championships this year. She has won National League races this year, so certainly one who we'd expect to be very much in contention. Riley Croxford in the finish, and this is a very good time here. Very close to Toby Casalato. He moves into 2nd place at 10:44, just behind Toby Casalato. 3 seconds down, so that breaks up the... and he looks not best pleased to be 3 seconds down, but he's still in the placings there. And Alvin Craig is not too far away by the looks of it. Alvin is in the finish chute, and he's going to go sub 10 minutes here, I think. So a fantastic run here by Alvin in the juniors. We thought he was one of the favourites, and he certainly demonstrated it today. Last year he struck trouble technically on the course, but I don't think he's had any trouble today with a time like 9:38. And obviously, you can't call an event with half an hour's worth of starters still to go, but that time is going to take a lot of beating. 9:38 there for Alvin Craig. About 11, just after 11, I think. And Blake Grindbot finishing there, and that's almost the same time as his brother, I think. It's so no, it's 2 minutes out of sync. So he's in fact fourth place there for Blake. 14:14. And Max Gribble also finishing there at 16:24. So we're now starting to get GPS tracking, and this is a replay of the senior girls course with Joanna George, Ella Cuthbert and Julia Gannon. So Ella the fastest of these three. As you can see the tracking go around on the course. Julia Gannon taking a different route choice to the others on one of the longer legs there, but see, it's all pretty close between those three early on. A few longer legs out to the towards spectator control there. Looks like the GPS tracking is perhaps not quite as accurate as it might be. Either that or Ella has discovered the skill of running over the top of buildings. So a few more finishes there from Western Australia. Caitlin Madden, 14:44. Also from New Zealand Karahiwi, Jessie Fave, about 18 minutes. And there's another Justine Hobson finished in 7th place at 12:48 in the junior girls. And Michaela Cooper is about to finish, and she's going to move into 4th place, I think, here. Michaela, just coming up over 15 minutes now. So she's gone past Ella Cuthbert's time, and she'll move into 4th position here behind the free ACT runners. Zoe Milhuish, our current leader there, ahead of Caitlin Young and Ella Cuthbert. Michaela Cooper moves into 4th there with Joanna George in 5th place. So, yeah, we said we had 5 runners in the field with Australian JWOC team experience, and they currently fill the top 5 places. Ashley White, I just saw through spectator control. Callum White, mixing 2 brothers up there. Callum is running with, you can see he's running with an arm in a sling, which is a pretty impressive effort after an injury over the weekend. Kaya Jurgensen just starting there, and Kaya is one of the New Zealanders we'll be keeping a close eye on. She 10:35. 2 minutes behind her is Jessica Sewell, who was second last year. She started at 10:37. So those will be 2 very much to watch for at the spectator control. 8 minutes is about the time they need to be on at the spectator control if they want to be challenging for the top placings here. So it'll be 6 to 8 minutes before we see those 2 there. I think they're probably the last 2 left in the field who are likely contenders for the win here. Senior girls is the smallest of the 4 fields, so we'll have the earliest finish to the start list. But they now have Paulina Harrison coming in as junior girls, about 13-15 there. Ida Leighton still to start in that class, 10:47. Looking at some of the others still to come who might be... Michaela Gray at 10:49 is going to be another one who's right up there. Also Anna Penk from South Australia, 10:51, who's won a couple of significant races this year. And Emily Hayes, our defending champion, at 10:55. So still plenty to come into junior girls. Nia Shingler, our current leader there, but she certainly can't count herself as a winner just yet. Senior boys, as we've just had Patrick Shelton-Agar coming in the junior boys in a pretty decent time there, about 13 minutes there for Patrick, and it will place him in the middle of the field, I think. Senior boys, we haven't had any challenges for quite a while now to our leading time of Grant Reinbott, and looking at what's to come here. And those who might challenge. There's a couple of New Zealanders, who still might get in there. Samuel Garbellini from Queensland at 10:40, I think might be a possibility. Mason Arthur at 10:38, Ewan Shingler 10:28, although Ewan needs to come pretty soon. He's on about 10 minutes. And Andrew Kerr at 10:34, who was a top 5 finisher last year. Those are probably the main ones I'd be looking at. But now we have Leif Soden in the finish, and Leif coming in about 18 minutes there, which may give me an indication what sort of time I'll be chasing when I go out, because at Sprint Adelaide earlier this year, Leif and I were within about 30 seconds of each other in just about every race during the weekend. So it's gives me something to chase there. And Callum White finishing in the junior boys, and I don't have a time on Callum just yet, but he's obviously doing very well to have got round, given his injury. Okay, just finishing there, we have Liam Stolberger from New Zealand, just under 15 minutes there for Liam. 14.54, so that moves him into 7th position. Also, Paulina Harrison from New Zealand moves into 10th place in the junior girls. Yeah. Okay, this is for enter on the day. Okay, you can, if you want to get a set start time for courses A, B and C in a Riverina run, there's a sign-up sheet near the registration desk, so you can sign up for that whenever you see fit. But Ewan Shingler is the next one we're watching for, and he might well be in the mix for the lead here. 13.17 is the time that he's chasing. He's currently just over 12 minutes, or just under 12 minutes, so not too far away. He needs to come in the next minute and a bit. This is a New South Wales runner, but it is very definitely not Ewan. It is Ellen Curry, who is 19 minutes in the senior girls at the moment. Sally McComb just through spectator, a bit over 9 minutes, so that puts her a minute and a bit off the lead there. But also finishing, we have Juliet Frater, who is our new leader in the second place getter, in the junior girls at 11.27. I was trying to find her, and I was looking at the senior list, so no long wonder I didn't find her. So that's our first change to a place for a while in junior girls. Nair Shingler still our leader there, but Sophie Taverner drops down to second place. Tessa Burns through the senior girls radio, about 9.50 there for Tessa, so that puts her a bit under 2 minutes down at that stage. But Ewan Shingler, who we're waiting for, we did get a sight of him on camera just before, but he's run out of time, I think, to take the lead. Now have Julia Powell-Davies coming in junior girls at a time of about 14 minutes, or a bit over 14 minutes fair, so about 3 minutes behind there for Julia. So Ben Porton through the spectator, about 11.50 there for Ben. And I think we have Ewan Shingler about to come into the finish here, and Ewan a bit over 14 minutes, so he's not going to take the lead here. He's he's currently showing his 4th place at the rodeo. What will he come in at the finish? 14.24, so moves into 5th place there, just behind Blake Reinbott. Mason Eves also finishing there in time a bit over 20 minutes. So Grant Reinbott continues as our leader here in the senior boys. A couple more finishers coming in. There's a West Australian who I missed, and also from Queensland. I think that will be Dylan Bryant in a bit under 13 minutes, which is a pretty reasonable result there. So we're seeing some of the GPS tracking now for the senior boys. A bit of a mix of competitors there. We've had the tracking. Yep.
When we can find the number, we'll put a lower third, run into the finish, and
Yep.
they'll have their running time there.
Yep, okay. So you can see on the screen here some of the route choice options on the GPS tracking. Some of the tracking is a bit imprecise. You often find that in built-up environments, the tracking sometimes has trouble keeping track of people on the, which is why you're seeing people go through the middle of buildings. It doesn't mean they've gone somewhere they're not supposed to. It just means that sometimes the tracking's not quite what it should be. So Kaya Jurgensen currently on about 9 minutes and Jessica Sewell on 7. But Kaya has gone through the spectator control and she's 12 seconds behind at that stage, so certainly very much in contention. Zali McComb just finishing there, 13.17 there for Zali, just over 2 minutes behind. Pretty closely bunched there in junior girls, so you've got 13 runners, but within just over 2 minutes of the lead. Okay, South Australia, we've got Tom Whitehart coming into the finish now, and about 12.45 there for Tom, who won 14s on Sunday. So a good run there for Tom, but about 3 minutes back on Alvin Craig, who had a spectacular run. Ivy Prosser finishing there, about 22 minutes there for Ivy. And Kate Braid, about 10 minutes there for Kate. Patrick Hayes through the senior boys spectator in about 9.5 minutes. But now we have Jessica Sewell coming into the spectator. And she is on about 8.40. I don't think that's going to be enough for a placing unless she does something pretty significant in the second half of the course. But 8.50 there I get Jessica Sewell at, which would put her about a minute down at this stage. Mason Arthur through the radio, about 8 minutes there for Mason. That's a pretty competitive time there, I think. And we also just had Jemima Lloyd finish in the junior girls at about 21 minutes, I think. But Zephyr Fove is coming in now, and this is a good time here for Zephyr. He's going to move into second place, I think, about 10.26 or 10.24. So he moves into second place behind Alvin Craig. Toby Casalato drops to third. Also have one of the South Australian junior girls come through. Zoe Carter at about 13.40. And just behind that, we have from Tasmania. I think that is Ewan Best at about 12.48. Moving into the middle of the field there. In fact, it was Abby Faulkner in the senior girls at about 21 minutes. So about that. So Kaya Jurgensen at 12.06 is what we're waiting for in the senior girls. She still has a bit under 2 minutes to reach the finish if she wants to take the lead here. I think that's the last realistic challenge to Zoe Melhuish's time. I think Jessica Sewell has lost too much time in the first part of the course, but Tessa Burns from New Zealand coming in now at about 16.30, and we'll move into 8th place. But it's her compatriot Kaya Jurgensen. She's from the other New Zealand team, and she's the one we're waiting for now at about 12.45. The time she's chasing is 14.09. Andrew Kerr is about to come in and is going to move into third position, I think. He's just behind his teammate David Stocks. Also running hard in the finish is Victorian Archie Nolan, who's on about 16 minutes. Sarah Ninja is also coming in. Sarah about 21 minutes. Andrew Kerr moves into 4th place at 14.12. So just behind David Stocks, who's our current 3rd place getter in that class. Grant Reinbott and Dante Afnan have remained in 1st and 2nd for a long time in that class. And we're perhaps starting to run out of possibilities to beat them. Aldo Bosman has moved into 5th place in junior boys at 10.56. An excellent run there for Western Australian. Also finishing now is Arabella Phillips and about 16.05. So that's a pretty decent run there for Arabella. Moves into 7th place, 16.07. We also have Kate Braid finishing for Western Australia in the junior girls. Kate about 14.20 there for Kate. But Sarah Stewart from New Zealand is about to take the lead in the junior girls. So Sarah is about 10.5 minutes, so she'll definitely be in front of Nia Shingler. 10.38, so that moves the bar up a bit higher. There's still plenty of possibilities to take that time down further, but Zara is in the finish at 10.38. But Kaya Jurgensen is coming in now, but she's run out of time to take the lead, and I think she's run out of time to move into the placings. She comes in, she's 15.08 unofficially, 15.08, she's 4th behind Ella Cuthbert. So the ACT trio remain as 1, 2, 3, and with Penelope Salmon is the only other one still to come. I haven't got a radio time on Penelope, but I think we can just about call our first 3 place getters there. Zoe Melhuish, Caitlin Young and Ella Cuthbert. Anna Pink just about to start in the junior girls. She's definitely a candidate for a high place in this race, so certainly still well and truly from, open in the junior girls. And she starts now. Another finisher in the junior girls, and it's Aoife Rovery, finishing in time about 14 minutes 20. Aoife running her first schools. I think she's still 12 this year, so one of the youngest competitors in the field. And good orienteering genes there. And you know, someone I think we'll see quite a lot more of over the coming years. Some more GPS tracking, and we have Penelope Salmon live on the tracking here, and she's going into control 20. Penelope is currently on about 13 minutes, so I think it's clear here that she has no realistic possibility of getting in fast enough to challenge for top 3. Mason Arthur just finishing in about 14 minutes, which is a pretty, and moves into 3rd place, in fact, 13.58. So our first change to a placings for a while. Mason Arthur, 13.58 there for Mason. Another Victorian finishing, that would be Lachlan Foyer, hard moving in about 12 minutes in the junior boys, I think. But Luke Clements also finishing there, and will move into 3rd position, in just behind the other New Zealander, Zephyr Fave. So it changes to the minor placings there in the junior boys, but no challenge for Alvin Craig, at least for the time being. So looking at what's still to come in the junior boys, Samuel Garbellini at 10.40. So he would need to come in more or less now to take the lead, and perhaps within the next minute to get into the placings. Now, effectively, our last start in that class is 10.52, Ronan Lee from New Zealand, and quite a few New Zealanders who are a decent chance coming to the placings in the last part of the field. So we should know the situation in the senior boys in the next 15 minutes or so. Junior girls, just saw Martine Valet come through. We would want to see Ida Leighton and through, I think, in the next minute if she's to be in with a chance of taking the lead My feed has just switched to Swedish again, so I can tell you that Sophie Arthur has Stempler the radio control in 9:34, currently in 10th place in the juniors.
If anybody's running in the Riverina Run this afternoon and you want to avoid the queue at the start, there you can pre-book at the registration tent. So the pre-booking for the Riverina Run this afternoon, to get you to pre-book a time, you can, to avoid the queue at the start. Thank you.
Okay, so it's okay, so this is Samuel Garbellini in the finish now, and this will be about 14:45 here for Samuel. He's about 7th, at the radio, 8th at the finish, so 1:29 down. So our winner from the junior long distance last year, Penelope Salmon also in the finish. About 16 minutes there for Penelope, so she will be about 2 minutes down and finishes in equal 9th place. So makes it into the top 10. Our place getters there, Zoe Melhuish, Caitlin Young and Ella Cuthbert, all from the ACT. We have a New Zealand senior... New Zealand runner there in the senior boys. I think that might be Erton Shedbolt through the spectator. Sophie Arthur now in the finish in the junior girls. Sophie on a time of about 12 minutes 40, so it's a pretty reasonable run there for Sophie. She moves into 9th place at 12:44. Lots of junior girls in that high 12s, low 13s range. Looks like Sophie's coming just at the head of the bunch. Torren Arthur about to start in the junior boys. Torren, I think, is a potential candidate for a placing today. Well, Tidswell through the radio in just on 8 minutes, which I think is a pretty reasonable time through the first radio. Perhaps not a leading time, but certainly up there in the placings. So Torren Arthur, a 10:56 start. We have starts in the junior boys through to 11:06. That's the largest class. I think Torren is one of those still out there who could still get into the placings. Looking at what else is out there, I think I'd probably also be looking to some of the later New Zealand starters as possibilities, but certainly Alvin Craig's time there looks pretty good. Michaela Gray just coming up to the spectator control in the junior girls. Michaela, one of the favourites here, but she's on about 8 minutes. So I don't think she's going to get the lead with that, because our leading time at the finish is about 10.5. But she's potentially still up for a place in the top 5 or 6 if she finishes off well. I thought I saw Eda Leighton just coming round at the finish. Eda's coming around towards the finish. Eda's currently just coming out to 11 minutes, so she can't win from here. But she might very well get into, I think 3rd is a possibility for her from here. It's past, but current leading times are Sarah Stewart and Nia Schindler, but she may be able to get into 3rd if she finishes well. Michaela was 56 seconds behind at the second radio, so it gives you some indication of where she is. She's currently 4th, listed as 4th for that radio. We think some of the radio times at that control may be incomplete, but possibly on track for a top 6 result. But it's Eda Leighton who we're waiting on now, and wait and see what time Eda does. Is she at the top of the finish chute? She is, and she punches the second last control, and she's currently in 4th position, and I think that's where she's headed for, with a time in the high 11s. Ida coming down to a finish and looking at a time of perhaps about 12 minutes fair. She's gone ahead of Martine Villers, her New South Wales teammate. Also finishing there, I think, is Eve Tague from Queensland. So Ida moving to 4th place at 12:02. Eve 14 minutes fair. Also going through, that will be Toby Lang from the ACT at the radio, about 9 minutes 30 there for Toby. Jack Marshall finished in the senior boys at 15:39, 2:22 behind while we're waiting there. Kai Jurgensen is moved into 4th, just behind Ella Cuthbert. I think I might have missed calling that before. So we're looking at replays now, and Torrin Arthur, actually Torrin's GPS dot seems to now she picked up the GPS, so we can see that Torrin is a bit behind Alvin at this stage, but we can also see that Luke Clements from New Zealand was on a pretty good run. He moved when at this stage Luke was in front of Alvin Craig. Luke, of course, is in the finish in 3rd place. Michaela Gray just finishing. She's on a time of about 11:40, so she'll probably move into 4th here. Michaela, 11:41 there. So a good finish there for Michaela Gray, and moves into 4th place behind Sarah Stewart. Just looking at what's still to come. Emily Hayes, 10:55 starter there. Emily is on about 6 minutes, so we'll need to see her at the spectator control, I think, within about 2 minutes if she's going to be a chance to win this race. Tenzin Johnson from the ACT finishing there, just on 17 minutes in the senior boys, and also Tasmanian finish. I missed who that was. Ayrton Shadbolt is coming into a finish, but 15:18 at the moment, so he will not challenge for leaders fair.
Request a 15-minute window for their start, so it doesn't become a huge crush at the queuing start.
What do you mean a 15-minute window?
Well, you can say 12 to 12:15. I'd like to start 12:15 to 12:30. You can do that at the red show on the sign-up sheet. So
okay. It's already been announced a couple of times.
It's going to apply all 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know I hadn't heard it. Yeah. But it's going to be all 3 days. Yeah. You can just
Okay. Okay, the Lachlan Hogan finishing in the junior boys at about 14 minutes, but also Charlie Cooper in the junior boys finishing at 17 minutes just before. So Emily Hayes is who we're watching for in the junior girls, and she needs to come through the spectator in the next minute, and I think she has. That's Emily Hayes through the spectator control, and I think she is a clear leader through here. I get her at about 7.5 minutes. Anna Pink went through it, spectator at 9:03 in 9th place. So that's going to put her out of contention for the placings, I think. But Emily Hayes is still very much in contention for the placings. Actually, Anna Pink coming in at about 12 minutes, bit over 12 minutes. I think that's going to put her in the top 10. Also there, Hannah Magnall. I think, is that Hannah? And Hannah takes the lead, in fact. I completely missed her through the spectator. So Hannah Magnall is our new leader for New Zealand Karahibi. And New Zealand have our first 2 places in the junior girls. But we know Emily Hayes is on an excellent time through the radio and is very much in contention to take the lead here. Torrin Arthur through the spectator control. Torrin about 7.5 minutes. That puts him in range, I think. Maybe not for Alvin Craig's time, but maybe able to get into second, possibly. if he has a good finish. Also finishing there, we have Jamie Wolford from New South Wales, just under 14 minutes there for Jamie. Anna Pink was moved into 7th place in the junior girls at 12.08. But Emily Hayes, the one we're watching for now. She's been out for about 9 minutes 10, which means she's got just under a minute to get in to the finish. But we have another New Zealander in the finish in the meantime. Will Tidswell moves into 3rd in the senior boys at 13.45. So good run there. Will Tidswell, our 2 leaders all very early on, Grant Reinbott and Dante Afnan. Seeing who's still to come. There's not much to come after Will, I don't think. It's just Ronan Lee, I think, is the last one who can realistically challenge. Toby Lang in the finish now for the ACT, about 15 minutes. That's Emily Hayes we're watching for, but I think Emily has run out of time to win from here. Liam Burke, meanwhile, moved into 2nd in the junior boys behind Alvin Craig. But Emily is past 10 minutes 20 now, so she's run out of time for 1st and 2nd. And I think she might have still a possibility for 3rd. And I think she's coming through now. But we have Ronan Lee coming in now. He will be moving to 4th place, I think, but also Emily Hayes. Emily's running for 3rd here, and I think she might have just got it. Just about 11 minutes flat there. We'll just have to wait and see the time there. Ronan Lee moved into 4th in senior boys. I haven't got a time on Emily Hayes. But I think it was 11 flat, and I think that is enough for 3rd place. Behind Hannah Magnell and Zara Stewart. Just waiting for confirmation of that.
Do you know what direction?
I can see Torrin Arthur coming towards the finish now. And Torrin is just coming out to 11 minutes. So he's going to be out of the placings here. But should, in fact, he's 10th through this radio. So he's probably looking at a time in the top 10. Emily Hayes is actually listed as 2nd here, so I think there may well have been a miss punch somewhere. I'm not getting information on that, but can someone go and tell me if there are any miss punches in the junior girls? Sorry, I think it might be one of the earlier New Zealanders. Results displayed here. It just feeds to individual runners. So, for example, if someone mispunched, I don't get any information on that. And I suspect the fastest time in the junior girls is a mispunch. We're getting someone to check that out at the moment. So we've still got junior boys heading out. That's Eddie Stoner, who's from Tasmania. And I think Eddie may be the last starter. So the senior boys, I think we can, in fact, it's going up on the board. Grant Reinbott is our winner, ahead of Dante Afnan, with Will Tidswell running into 3rd place. Those results, I think, are now effectively final. There's no one else In fact, I don't think there's anyone else still out there. Jaden Fitch, who was our last starter, is not running today with an injury suffered during the weekend. Mason Arthur 5th place and 3rd of the Australians. As saw a South Australian finish, which I think is Mitchell Stevens, on about 17 minutes. So senior boys results now settled. The senior girls results also settled with the ACT trio of Zoe Melhuish, Caitlin Young and Ella Cuthbert as our place getters. Junior boys, we still have Alvin Craig as our leader, and there are still a few to come, but looking at who might challenge, it's not a lot left. And we've got the senior girls results on the board now. And probably not too surprising a set of results there, with the top half dozen also all having Junior World Championships experience. Yep.
The results have gone up as Miss Punters.
Yep. Zully McCann. Yeah. Yeah, no, she was the leader. Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, so just got Nathan Borton coming into the finish, and it's a pretty good time here for Nathan, about 10:40 here for Nathan, so he will move into the top 10 here, I think. In fact, 5th place for Nathan Borton, or equal 5th with Toby Casalato in the junior boys. The junior girls, so Hannah Magnell we called as the leader earlier on. She is a Miss Punch, in fact. So that means that Zora Stewart is our leader, in fact our winner here today, because no one else can get in a faster time than that. Emily Hayes in 2nd, so a double for the New Zealanders. And 3rd place there it will be Nia Shingler for New South Wales. And that's going up on the board now, in fact. Juliet Fratter from New Zealand in 4th. Place there in the junior girls. So the junior boys, the last class here, which is still in doubt. For remaining starters who can still get under Alvin Craig's time, we're looking at Liam Dufty from Western Australia, Marcus Degenar from Tasmania, Daniel Wood from New Zealand, and Eddie Stoner from Tasmania. But Daniel Wood from New Zealand is perhaps the one I'd watch out of those. Currently in 6th place. So it's Liam Dufty just going through the spectator control now in about 10 minutes. Sorry, I missed that. Sorry, I said a bit of a slip there. I said currently in 6th place. I meant to say currently on about 6 minutes. So we would need to see him at the spectator control probably in the next 1 to 2 minutes if he's going to challenge for placings. Just a couple of reminders here. Firstly, there is a sign-up sheet for start blocks for the Riverina Run at the registration tent if you want to book yourself a start block, particularly if you're on one of the longer courses, which has a lot of people entered. You'll also see the local Lions Club has catering in the arena, so I think probably people will be wanting to take advantage of that. Most likely after their runs. I think the coffee van has been doing quite good business before runs, and the Lions Club's there for after you run. So just really, the senior boys probably the last one to watch here. So just give me a moment. And that I think was Daniel Wood coming through there, and that's a decent time there for Daniel, about 7:20. So I think he's on a good time here. This race isn't over yet.
No, it's not.
So junior boys, at the moment, we have Alvin Craig as our leader at 9:38. And it's a very large field, as you can see on the board, as they're running through the competitors. 44 runners in at the finish so far. So currently we've got Lamberg at second at 10:22, but Daniel Wood's on a pretty good run here, and he's currently on about 8.5 minutes, and I think it's within the range of possibilities that he might be able to get into the minor placings here.
Are camera people good to head back yet, or? So junior boys is one we're still watching for, and Daniel Wood from New Zealand, he's now run out of time to beat Alvin Craig. Can he get in front of second and third? He'd need to appear in the next 40 seconds or so. And this will be Liam Duffy from Western Australia coming in about 14 minutes. Liam coming from very good orienteering pedigree, of course. Craig Duffy and Rachel West, both stalwarts of Western Australian elite orienteering for many years. And Liam, I think this might be his first year, and pretty reasonably respectable run first up there in a big junior boys field. Daniel Wood in the finish now, and Daniel coming up to about 10:40. He will not be in the placings, but he's going to be moving to 7th or 8th place, I think. So that will run out the top 10 here. Daniel Wood, just waiting for confirmation on that time, but I think it's going to be about 8th. So that will wind up, I think, the leading results. I'll just go around and do a bit of a call off the board, particularly for the benefit of those who are watching online, and then we'll wind things up. At 13:17, second Dante Afton at 13:22, and looking at the split times, that margin was all gained in the finish shoot, so very impressive finish there for Grant. Will Tidswell from New Zealand Harua at 13:45 in third, fourth from New Zealand Karahi, Ronan Lee 13:56, fifth Mason Arthur, Victoria 13:58, sixth David Stocks ACT 14:10, so 6 different teams represented in the top 6 there. 6.
Andrew Kerr from the ACT 14:12 in 7th. Blake Reinbott from Queensland 8:14:14. Ewan Shingler, New South Wales 14:24 in 9th, and Samuel Garbellini from Queensland 10:14:46. 3 Queenslanders in the top 10 there, so I'm pretty sure Queensland will have taken out the team points in that class. Senior girls,
ACT trifecta here. Zoe Melhuish 1409, Caitlin Young 1455, and Ella 1306 for second and third. Kai Jurgensen 1508 in fourth. Michaela Cooper fit from Tasmania 1515. Jessica Sewell 1527 from New Zealand, who were in sixth. Seventh, Joanna George, South Australia 1543. Eighth, Julia Gannon, Queensland 1544. Ninth, Arabella Phillips 1607 from Tasmania, and 10th, at equal ninth, Penelope Salmon, New Zealand, Karahifi 1607, and ACT fairly obviously the team winners there. Junior boys, Alvin Craig, our clear winner here at 9:38. Two from New Zealand, Karahifi in second and third. Liam Buick and Zifa Fave, 10:22 and 10:24. New Zealanders also fourth and fifth. From New Zealand, Hurua, Luke Clements 10:29 and Nathan Borton 10:41. Also an equal fifth, Toby Casalato 10:41. Riley Coxford, New Zealand, Hurua 10:44 in seventh. Aldo Bosman from WA 10:56 in eighth. Oscar Johnson, South Australia 10:57, and Remy Afnan, also South Australia 11:03. And I think New Zealand, Hurua will be the winning team there, and South Australia will be the lead state. And finally with the junior girls, Zara Stewart from New Zealand, Karahivi 10:38. Emily Hayes, New Zealand, Hurua second, 11 o'clock. New South Wales, Nia Shingler 11:17. New Zealand, Hurua, Juliet Fratter fourth, 10:27. Michaela Gray from Queensland, 11:41 in fifth place. Ida Lesion in New South Wales, 12:02. Equal seventh, Anna Pink from South Australia, and Sophie Taverner from Victoria, 12:08. Ninth, Miller Key from Victoria, 12:11, and 10th, Rachel Dustin, New Zealand, Karahivi in 12:19. I think New Zealand, Karahivi are probably the team winners here. Just looking at, and I think Victoria will probably be the lead state with 7th, 9th and 13th, looking where it will be fairly close between Victoria and New South Wales. We'll need to do the final calculations to be sure of that one. Actually, I think New South Wales, I think, might have just squeezed out Victoria there. So that's rounding up the situation here for the sprint event. We'll hopefully have full junior points online later on tonight. And I'll hand over now to Valerie Barker.
Thank you, Blair. This is just to let you know that we'll be expecting to have presentations by about midday in the arena, so look for the 3 place banners, and we'll enjoy some of these orienteers this morning.
Thanks, Valerie, and with that I'll wind up the commentary. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.
All the live stuff is really good, and the commentating, having the big screen and everything is really nice. And it feels, there's cameras and stuff out in the forest, so that kind of makes it feel a bit more like the World Champs, and makes it feel a bit more professional than some other events. Yeah, so it's been really good.